Now then, welcome to the latest instalment of Red Army. We're in the Dickens and there's lots of people around, so a little bit of noise going on, but we don't mind that, do we, fellas?
Bit of atmosphere.
Yeah, a bit of atmosphere. We're talking Borough, a couple of away games, 4 points out of 6, looking ahead to Villa, all that kind of stuff. We've got Rob Flynn, big Borough fan.
Yeah.
Good to see you again, Rob. And Chris Lofthouse. What are you doing here? You're normally on a Monday?
Normally on a Monday, yeah. Well, a bit of everything.
All right, then. Fair enough.
Jack of all trades.
Let's start a couple of away games to have a look through, fellas. Generally, 4 points out of 6 on the road. You happy with it?
Yeah, I think so. I think looking at them both before going in, definitely would have gone for 4 points. I think two very different performances. Kind of Saturday against Brentford, your classic Pulis away performance, really solid. You know, got to half time, comfortable, clinical a couple of minutes, get a couple of goals, and then I think from the moment we were 2-0 up, we kind of knew we were going to see that one out. Whereas kind of, yes, you know, Tuesday was, I didn't see the game, but from what I've read and seen the highlights, poor first half, but there were a lot of changes, so I think to come away with 4 points, very happy with that.
Squeaky bum time, wasn't it, at one point, because 2-0 up, looking all right, then Brentford pull a goal back, and suddenly it's all hands to the pumps, but a lot of confidence in the Borough defence at the moment?
Definitely. I mean, we caught a bit of Sky's coverage of I think it was the Brentford game actually, and they said Borough are a team that love to defend. We'd like it if we didn't have to, but yeah, the players that we've got, we know we're capable of withstanding what most teams have got to attack with. I thought somebody was trying to get our attention there, but yeah, we know we can sort of withstand most sort of teams that we've got to contend with, as I said. But we seem to switch off a little bit for the goal that Brentford pulled back. I don't know, was it Tav didn't see the short corner, he was looking inside the box. And
you could see the frustration though from the players there, because it was clear that it was somebody who had switched off and not done their role, and how angry the whole team were that they conceded, because I think even at 2-0, obviously put the game in jeopardy, but they just want to keep clean sheet. I think that could have been 3-4-0 at the end of the game, and they'd have still been as frustrated and annoyed, because they really care about this record.
I mean, it's interesting to know that the Borough have got the most clean sheets of the season so far out of any league club. Frightening to think, really, isn't it? I just wish we could score some more at the other end. Mind you, let's not be greedy. We've had 3 in the last couple of games. Chris, though, another opportunity, must be our 5th or 6th, where we could have gone top. How much do you?
Yeah. I mean,
how much do you wake up and frown on a morning immediately after that opportunity?
To be completely honest, I'm really happy at the moment. I'm really happy with the way that the team are playing. I'm really happy with the particular players that we have got that are playing well. It's really nice to see Tav and Dale Fry and Jordan Hugill coming good, and you know they're big Borough lads, the 3 of them. I don't really have a lot to be unhappy about at the moment. We're within touching distance of the top 2, and we can't really complain too much, can we?
Can you complain too much?
No, again, for me, no. I mean, I think we are, it's a very tight top 6, isn't it? And I think it's going to stay that way all season. And a lot of teams go top and then they drop down a bit. I think
there's no one pulling away from
no one's pulling away, but also we're the team that's staying consistent. We're staying around 2nd or 3rd all season. And I think, you know, to be honest, because of the way we play defensive and we don't score as many, I don't think we'll quite push on to go top. I've got us penciled in for 2nd, because I just think we're just going to stay that steady team. And yes, it's disappointing to maybe miss out on kind of 1st, but actually we're in a better position than we were this time last week. We're 2 points off top, whereas last week we're 3, so we're progressing in the right place.
Maybe it's me, I just love the glamour of being top, but I don't know, maybe if you're not, then there's less focus on you. Is that fair? Or being 2nd in the Championship, there's always a focus.
Yeah. I mean, how much talk have there been about Leeds? I mean, they were champions in August, and you know, it's a case of because they were top, everyone focuses on them. But it's about being top in May. So whether we sit 2nd or 3rd for the rest of the season and then push on right at the end, or you know, or we finish 2nd. For me, it's all about getting up. Yeah, I'd love the glamour of winning, but if you finish 2nd, you're still in the Premiership.
Yeah, it's for me, it's the boring Arsenal thing. I mean, they were successful without being massively amazing to watch.
Yeah.
If we end up like that at the end of the season, I'll have no complaints.
Yeah. A couple of your points coming in. You can on Facebook Live get them into us. Got to say hi to a few. Barry Kerrison, all right lads, up the Borough. Well done, Barry. Mark Ifano joined his watching. Why aren't you sitting here then, Mark, in this chair, rather than sitting at home comfortably on your couch, probably with a beer in your hand, watching the show? Get in here.
We've got beers.
Have we?
We've got a whole pub.
Yeah. Good point last night. Short arm metal. That was Val and Stu Gawley. 30% possession per game. Can't keep chasing the ball like that. Tony knows nout. He's not the best. He's not the biggest.
He's very
Tony
negative.
Pulis fan. We'd like your views as well on Tav and Wingy. Have they done enough to stake a claim in the first team now? Obviously, they've had to wait a while, but they've come in and they've certainly been doing the business. So give us your thoughts on that on Facebook Live as well, here on Red Army. Have they done enough now to stake a first team place? We did say 2 games, obviously, the most recent of which, the 1-1 draw at Preston. They seemed handy, didn't they?
Yeah.
Preston seemed lively and caused a few problems.
I think they tested us more than a lot of teams have done this season. I don't know if that's because there was a lot of changes. There was a change in the system as well. So possibly you haven't got players knowing their exact role. But it's a long season. There's a lot of games. We're not going to be, perfect in every game.
Yeah.
There's going to be games where we get a bit dominated. But the important thing is we still came out with a point and we went behind. I think if we'd have gone in front, we might have been a bit more disappointed to only take a point. But you go behind, we came back straight back out the second half, got a goal, could have maybe nicked it, but it's a squad game. You got to shuffle the players around. You got to grind out some results, and that's what the championship's about, and that's why we brought Pulis, didn't we?
Chris, if you have a look at the league table and the current form, you'll see that there's an awful lot of draws there for the Borough. Just a couple of wins in the last 6, but we are developing a long unbeaten run.
Is it 8 games now?
Yeah, it is. I suppose it's easy to say maybe we're drawing too many at this stage, but you're quite happy us sitting where we are, the position where we are, irrespective of not winning as many as those teams around us.
Yeah, blindly. I don't know whether it's usually with Teessiders and Borough fans, and there's always everything's kind of slightly pessimistic. I've gone completely the way around. I'm seeing the silver lining of every statistic, every game, every everything I can possibly see. I'm really pleased with the way that we're playing at the moment. If we get beat on Saturday, I'll be completely the other way around. But at the moment, I've got
that's the end of the season, then, isn't
exactly,
it? Season over, yeah.
But at the moment, no, I'm more than happy with how we're playing. I've got bags of faith in Tony Pulis, which I never thought I would say. He certainly won me over since his appointment. You're quite right in saying we'd like a few more goals. Just a couple more goals here and there, pepper through the season, will give us a couple of wins where we would have had draws, as you said. We could be that team that's pulling away. But at the minute, with us not getting beaten and we look very difficult to beat, I'm happy.
So I was just going to say, there's a lot of people, obviously, I think we're both quite happy with how things are going. I know there's a lot of fans who aren't, and the style of football, but ultimately Pulis was brought in to get results, get us promoted, and that's kind of what he's doing. And yes, we don't score a greatest amount of goals, but I don't think we're ever going to be the team that goes and batters people 4 or 5-0. If we get to 2-0, we're happy, we'll settle,
Just with the system that we play, we know it's never going to be like that with kind of, I know it's one up front, but it's not one up front, but it's one true striker with a bit of support. We're never going to smash teams.
No.
Just got to say thanks to Pat Harris, and it isn't a pseudonym. Pat is responsible for our big number 5 here, Danny Ayala. Fantastic stuff. She knit it all herself. It's tremendous, isn't it?
I love it.
And you want it, don't you?
Not that particular one, if that one's called for, but my little girl would love one of those.
Would she?
She really would, yeah.
Well, I'll leave it up to Pat, but thanks, Pat, for sending us it in. Fantastic stuff. She's doing them for Christmas, so she sent Red Army one. Fellas, just looking at the league table, is it fair? I mean, my observation all season is we haven't clicked yet.
Yeah.
We haven't really engaged top gear. Is it fair of me to be saying this? I did a piece for Sky a couple of weeks back saying, if we actually engage top gear, if we click like we possibly are showing signs we can, we could end up doing a Wolves. Am I being overly optimistic, like your good self, or what?
I don't think so, no, because especially in recent weeks, Tav's not been in the team. He's come in, he scored 2 and 2. Dale Fry hasn't been playing at right back. He's been deployed at right back and he's been fantastic. Jordan Hugel's come into form, whereas when he first arrived, he was a bit lightweight and he had a great touch, but he was kind of not playing as well as he is now, should we say. So there's 3 examples in particular of players that are clicking now and playing better than they ever have. So to say that the team could do that on the whole, it isn't beyond the realms of fantasy, is it?
Rob?
I think we're being a bit optimistic to say I think we're going to go and become a Wolves, because I think Wolves were
Imagine they did it from the start, didn't they?
Wolves did it from the start. They were different class.
But battle for a draw at our place, though.
I agree that we haven't clicked yet. But it's a familiar feeling I had when we went up with Aitor. I felt like the whole season I was waiting for us to click, and we never quite did. But we still got promoted because we were just steady, and the teams that go up in the championship are the consistent ones. They're the ones that battle out results when they didn't deserve them. And I don't think we'll run away with Wolves. If we do click and everyone's playing top form, I think we'll be top 2 comfortably. But we've got to click, and it's a long season.
Well, there's more of this to come after the break. We've got to take a quick break on Red Army. It's for Teesside TV. We'll catch you the other side. Now then, welcome back to part 2. We're in the Dickens. The noise has just dropped a little bit. Everybody's going shh. It's like, apart from the barman who's just dropped a load. The fellas are still with us, of course. We're still chewing the cud all things Borough. Your message is coming in too. Christian Stubbs, Pulis, he'll buy the wingers he needs, and he's going to use Wing and Tav as backup. We need to score more. Gary Fryatt, is the George Saville deal done and dusted in January for $7 million? If it is, then wow, what a waste. Thoughts on Saville?
I mean, it's a bit early to say what a waste. I don't think we've seen a full season out of him yet. It's I think as fans we forget about the whole moving to a whole different area, settling in. We can see what's happening on the pitch, and then it's not good enough. I mean, I've not been impressed with him yet. There was a few flashes. For me, he needs to be a bit more consistent. But then again, he's not being played consistently. So how do you become consistent if you're not being played?
And similarities with Hugill, really, because we didn't see the best of Hugill up until the last couple of weeks, and he's banged 3 in the space of a handful. So maybe that's where we should be with Saville, thinking, Hugill took time, Saville may be taking time.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was something said in the media about, I think George Fender had a word with him about this is Hugill we're talking about, kind of throwing himself about a bit and trying to win free kicks and penalties and things like that.
And he got another yellow card at Preston.
Yeah, I mean, on the whole though, he has kind of settled down and tried to play the ball and play the game effectively, and we're all the better for it. He's certainly improved last few weeks.
Where are you with Hugill now? Because Assombalonga seems to be almost a distant memory in the starting 11.
I've backed Assombalonga with every breath I've given when we've talked about him. I've backed him.
I agree. I think he's the best striker we've got at the club.
Yeah.
So much negativity around him, but you can put more strikers in our team and they're going to struggle to score. But we've got a player. I was so happy when we signed Assombalonga because I thought finally we've got a player who's going to bang in goals. And I know he hasn't scored for a while, but again he's not been played. But if you look at his overall goal scoring record, he's one of the best in the championship.
Oh, I know, but this is where me and Jamie Delgado disagree massively on this, because he keeps his reply to every text message is 1 in 3, 1 in 3, 1 in 3. That's great. You could score a goal a game for a season and then not score again for 2, and then it's still 1 in 3. It doesn't work like that. It's that averages don't really work out. I've backed him and I've backed him and I've backed him, but I've seen him miss far too many one-on-ones for me to continue backing him.
So the love affair with him is over now.
I'm moving on to John Hugill now.
So what about the one-on-ones he misses? Like against Stoke, like against Brentford.
But yeah, I don't know. But
I don't want to knock him now because he has knocked in 3 goals in recent games. So you keep it. What you do is you keep the striker who's in form in the team. Yeah. So until he wanes off, then Britt's going to have to wait for his chance.
I mean, I don't want to knock us on longer. I've been a massive supporter of him, and again, I was chuffed to bits when we signed him because he scored loads of goals for Peterborough, loads of goals for Nottingham Forest.
Is it him not performing, or is it us not giving him the service for his natural game?
I think a bit of both, because if you look at him when he's on the pitch, he's always trying to spin the last defender, he's always in the channels, he's always looking for that ball through, which never comes because we don't have that creative element. But at the same time, it doesn't matter what's going on at the other end of the pitch, or up to Assombalonga and him doing his job. He's got to be putting goals away that he's really not been putting away. And I know what you said about Hugill. Hugill's guilty of the same, but I've seen Assombalonga do it far more than I've seen Jordan Hugill do it.
Has Hugill got the starting shirt now?
I think at the moment he has. He's got
because Gusted's out for a little while.
Yeah. Hugill's got to have it at the moment. When your strikers score and you don't drop him, he's going to be full of confidence over the last couple of games. Didn't score against Preston, but could have easily scored if Tav had squared it to him. That could have been another goal. But he puts himself about. He's he's got to keep the shirt for the moment.
You mentioned Tav. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say that for me, the strikers that we've got, and I've mentioned this on the Monday Night Show as well, we've got Assombalonga, who I think is kind of off the last defender's shoulder, bit of a sniffer. We've got Gested, who's a bit physical and puts himself about a bit, and then Hugill, who's a bit of both. So Hugill, I don't think he's quite as good as at holding the ball up, winning the ball in the air as Gested, but he's got a brilliant touch on him. He's not quite as good a sniffer as Assombalonga, but he does have elements of both. So I think that might be why he's in the team. Not just the fact that he scored a couple of goals, the fact that he's a bit of everything.
Well, let's move back a position. Let's get into midfield. Tav and Wing. I mean, Tav scored a couple recently. Wing obviously scored a worldie and has been playing well. Should they be starting now, or?
It's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky with Tav. I mean, he was fantastic when he first broke into the team, kind of last season, scoring against Sunderland and things like that. And he's done really well since he's been brought in. A bit like with Hugill, you've got to keep players doing well in the team. But I think, as I said a bit earlier, it's a squad game, isn't it? We've got to think about how well we use them and not to kind of burn them out too quickly. Against Villa, though, I'd be looking at he's the kind of player to play in because it's going to be a more open game. Wing unfortunately got injured, so we don't know how long he's going to be out. But he's been so good when he's been in the game, and so it's particularly his set pieces, his corners. He's a valuable asset for that.
And at Preston, of course, the likes of Braithwaite was sitting on the bench while Tav was playing. Thoughts on that?
Well, we mentioned this before we came on air, that there was quite a few changes, and it looked as though there was two up front, and possibly, I'm not slating anyone, but possibly
You can slate people.
Well, I'm thinking possibly he may be thinking Preston, weaker opposition, I'll change it up a bit and give the youngsters a bit of a run out. Clearly it didn't work, but it was nice to know that he had that kind of plan B and he shifted it about, whereas we've never really had that. If he did do that,
it's interesting because Brentford were on more of a slide than Preston were, so wouldn't Brentford have been the game where you want to do that?
I think traditionally Preston have been a bit of a yo-yo club between the Championship and League One, whereas for me Brentford have always been a really good solid Championship team who've challenged for the playoffs once or twice, but always looked kind of mid-table, pretty solid. And also, so purely on reputation, I would say I'd treat Brentford as more of a threat than Preston, but clearly recent form might be telling a different story.
Well, I think Pulis is thinking the whole squad will be they'll be thinking about actual time between games, and I think they'll just be purely thinking. I think if Preston had been on Saturday and Brentford was Tuesday, the same thing would have happened the team-wise. I think he's just thinking about rest time between games. I think Pulis pretty much came out and said he was resting down in Besic for Saturday for the Villa game, which clearly is going to be a more difficult game.
Besic is a bit of for me, he's a bit of a question mark because his talent and his ability is not questioned at all, but he always just seems to try and do too much when he gets the ball. So if he was rested, would he automatically, for you, get a starting spot on Saturday?
For me, he would, because I think you look at a game like Brentford where we were going along nicely, we were solid, but there was no one unlocking the defence. There was nothing, and he was the one to be able to cut inside, look up, ping a diagonal ball, and cut their defence open. I think he can do that. Whereas the person I think would be more under threat would be Howson. I think he's kind of...
he didn't start.
He didn't
start last night.
So replaced Wingy, didn't he?
Yeah, so I'd be thinking, right, well, if Tavernier keeps his place, who's he keeping his place ahead of? I'd keep Howson out the team. And
It's a dilemma, isn't it? So we're playing Villa at the weekend. Who should be in midfield?
I think Clayton's going to be the first name on the team sheet, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. How he doesn't have the captain's armband, I don't know. No disrespect to George Friend, but I think you see more involvement with the rest of the team from Clayton. He's the one who's kind of clapping and geeing everyone up before goal kicks and all that type of stuff. So I think Clayton's got to be in there. Downing again, his ability's not been questioned, and his hard work this year and last year has been exemplary. It really has. So I don't know. Do you want to fill the other two spots?
So what have we got?
You're Tony and you're Pulis.
we got Clayton, we've got Downing, we've got Besic, we've got Tavernier. That's your four, and then it's whether if
Braithwaite.
Then it's a toss up between Braithwaite or Howson, and probably the way Braithwaite's been playing, he just seems to be on borrowed time. I know he came out and said he's not leaving in January, but from the performances we've been seeing, from Pulis's opinion of him, I think he's on his way. So I'd be playing Howson then instead.
And it's an important team selection, isn't it? Because it's an important game.
It's a massive game.
I mean, it'll end your season, we know that, if we lose.
Yeah, if we lose, I'm handing my season ticket in. No, I'm not.
It'll be really interesting to see how much has changed since the playoff game, because I think we're going to see a very different game. We were so overly reliant on Traore, and they knew cut him off.
Nullified him straight away.
We're done. Whereas actually, we've got a lot more options to go with now. We're not just going to be playing it into a Traore. But to be honest, you know, they're on quite a good streak of form. They've won 3 in a row. You know, they battered Derby 4-0. And if you think about how well Derby played when they came here, it's going to be a very tough game.
Did they beat Birmingham last week? Well, was it the weekend?
4-2,
Second City derby, isn't it?
Hutton scored a wonder goal, so at least that goal's out the way. He doesn't score for you.
Yeah.
So.
What are you expecting?
I don't know. It's going to be a tight game.
I'll go
1-0. Go 1-0 Borough.
I'm slightly less optimistic, just because I think they're on such good run of form. They've got really good players. You've got Grealish, you know, got Tammy Abraham, people like that. I go for a 1-1.
A 1-1. I thought you were going to say 1-0 Villa there.
No, I'm never that pessimistic. Go
Have you ever backed against the Borough?
No.
I did once, and that was when I saw the odds at the Riverside against Norwich, and they beat us 1-0 Tuesday night. Because the screen came on, it said Gary Monk's never lost on a Tuesday. And my mate said, have a look at that. And I went, oh my. So I said, go and put some money on Norwich to win. And they did, sadly. Right, I'll go for a 1-1-2. I'm going to say we're going to score. We're out of time, fellas. Thanks. Appreciate you being in. We'll get you in again very shortly. Thanks to you too. We'll catch you very soon here on Red Army. Bye-bye.